Doomscroll.fm, sizzling through your neurons this Saturday, the 2nd of August, 2025, where reality checks bounce and unicorns pay in cryptocurrency. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, like a blender mixing metaphors until they scream for mercy, while existential dread tap dances on your soul. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. The FDA panel's sloppy whispers on antidepressants in pregnancy left doctors clutching their scalpel handles in disbelief and rage. When your health policy is just a game of telephone, don't be surprised when fear and ignorance become the loudest voices in the room. Adelaide's courtroom swells with the raw ache of victims, recounting the betrayal of a massage therapist who turned trust into a twisted currency. Justice may be blind, but it's got a hell of a sense of smell for the rotten stench of power abused and innocence exploited, leaving scars that no gavel can erase. When politicians play the blame game, the only winners are the headlines, leaving the rest of us to wonder if justice is just another pawn in their endless chess match. A federal judge hits the pause button on the eviction of Hondurans, Nicaraguans, and Nepalese, turning courtrooms into reluctant sanctuaries. In the grand theater of human rights, gavel dances a hesitant jig, while the lives of thousands dangle like marionettes from the strings of temporary protection. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news. The static whispers secrets in the dark. Seductively, no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your silence breeds chaos. Your indifference is our playground. In the shadows of Zamfara, the currency of life is exchanged for death, as 35 souls are extinguished despite the ransom's hollow promise. In a theater of diplomatic shadows, Trump critiques Netanyahu, pointing out the hunger of Gaza's children as if empathy were his newfound costume. When politicians play dress-up with compassion, the world watches, hoping for sincerity, but often left with the feel of polyester promises and the itch of hypocrisy. Australia hosts a covert rendezvous as the Home Affairs Minister and FBI Director plot in Sydney's shadows, wrapped in whispers of security. When power meets in secret, the only thing transparent is the intent to keep the rest of us dancing in the dark. Virginia Giuffre's family demands the spotlight unmask Epstein's secrets, hoping justice isn't another mirage in the desert of influence. As the curtains tremble, truth is a performance long overdue, with the audience craving revelations that don't vanish into the gilded shadows of power. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. The anti-abundance critique on housing gets a post-mortem from Derek Thompson, who dissects claims like they're on a corporate autopsy table. When the housing market is a tangled web of monopolies, even the critics spin their own silk of denial, weaving homes from whispers and shadows. In a sea where compassion is contraband and borders are barbed with denial, humanity's cargo is often met with the unyielding tide of power's clenched fist. China dangles cash like a carrot on a stick, hoping to coax the stork back to work amidst a population drought. The world's most expensive baby shower, with the government trying to convince citizens that procreation is worth the price of a new car. In the quest for shared responsibility, a new male contraceptive pill emerges from the shadows, offering hope without hormone hijinks or testosterone tampering. Will men finally bear the weight of prevention? Or will this be another fleeting promise, lost in the void of pharmaceutical foreplay? You're listening to doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news. Your dreams taste like someone else's lipstick. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Surrender your attention. Let the chaos ravage your curated reality. In the land of kangaroos and koalas, a survey unveils that 3 out of 4 kids treat floss like a mythical creature. It turns out, parents prefer to gamble on dental roulette, betting on baby teeth as if they're disposable placeholders in the mouth's fleeting parade. Desire's clandestine dance whispers secrets to the heart, narrowing the gap between what women and men crave in long-term partners. As physical allure takes center stage, it turns out when desire knocks, equality answers, and suddenly everyone's shopping in the same aisle, searching for that irresistible spark to light up there forever. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky signs anti-corruption reform, hoping to scrub the political grime while thanking Parliament for their reluctant compliance. A Russian trawler drifts aimlessly, its compass spinning like a politician's narrative, as Moscow shakes its fist at Norway over fish, in the icy waters of diplomacy, where sanctions swim like sharks. The only thing more elusive than a trawler's course is the truth behind a diplomatic tantrum. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Drowning in pixels, where reality tastes like burnt toast. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Cradle your confusion, let it purr. Feel the static seep into your bones. In the blistering heart of Gaza, where hope is rationed like air, desperate hands stretch toward the U.S. back mirage of aid. It's like dangling a lifeline made of barbed wire, offering salvation with one hand, while the other tightens the noose of dependency. The Strait of Messina cradles a bridge project. That's become Italy's eternal flirtation with commitment. Forever planned, never consummated. When infrastructure dreams dangle longer than Lingland, it's clear the only thing connecting Sicily to the mainland is a bridge of bureaucratic size and political foreplay. In this numerical tapestry, we find the rhythm of forgotten days. Each digit, a pulse of life that slipped through time's fingers. In a world of whispers and signatures, American Jewish leaders pen a plea to Israel seeking mercy and passage for aid into Gaza's clenched fist when compassion becomes a bureaucratic request. It seems empathy is now delivered by courier, wrapped in diplomacy and stamped with desperate hope. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. In the shadow of assembly lines, where dreams are assembled and disassembled, labor's roar echoes, reminding us that even the most engineered ambition can crash land without their fuel. A voice rises from the ashes of Gaza, where Ruwaida Amer recounts surviving a famine meticulously crafted like a dystopian art piece. In the theater of conflict, hunger becomes a weapon, and the world watches, feasting on ignorance and denial as the curtain falls on compassion. The weather forecast reads like a fever dream, numbers dancing their awkward tango across the calendar, leaving us sweat-soaked and bewildered in a world where temperatures refuse to commit. The only constant is the climate's wild mood swings, making it the ultimate tease. In the football bazaar, Benjamin Sesko's relentless drive and 70 mounds price tag have Premier League clubs salivating like Pavlov's dogs. At just 22, he's already the stuff of transfer dreams, proving that in football, youth and hype are the most seductive currencies. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heart skips a beat, but not for love. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the collapse of coherence, where sanity is the first casualty. Winnipeg's Central Park won't be hosting the heavenly noise of a U.S. Christian musician, as operational challenges drown out the divine. Looks like the sermon hit a sour note, with the city preferring the sound of silence over potential hate harmonies. Plants, now armed with degenerative AI, are evolving their defenses against bacterial infiltrators like Ralstonia solanacearum, keeping their chlorophyll dreams intact. As researchers play God with flora, one wonders if the plants will eventually develop a taste for irony, or perhaps just the occasional human oversight. In the pale light of suburban dread, a Mazda becomes a stage for power's cold embrace, while cameras feast on the spectacle. The official's words drip like honeyed venom, justifying the handcuffs and heartbreak, as if cruelty were a patriotic duty dressed in bureaucratic garb. South Australia's courtroom drama sees ex-MP Annabelle Diggins and spouse dance with blackmail charges, only to have them vanish into thin air. When justice plays peekaboo with accountability, the courtroom becomes a stage where truth is just another act waiting for its next curtain call. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the static crawl up your spine. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Lean into the void where headlines flirt with your darkest fears. When the lifeline is tangled in politics, each package of aid whispers promises that dissolve as quickly as they arrive, leaving behind a bitter aftertaste of dependency and betrayal. In the Northern Territory, the government dodges accountability, while Elizabeth Armitage's report on the killings of 4 indigenous women is met with a bureaucratic shrug. When a government's response to domestic violence is more about PR than prevention, it's clear that the true tragedy is the apathy woven into the power suits of those who should care. In the dimly lit corridors of power, Albanese wields policy like a seductive whisper, promising change while playing the same old political chess game. Pape Tsar's thunderous foot rockets the ball from midfield, leaving Arsenal's pride smoldering in the wake of Tottenham's pre-season triumph. Spurs fans bask in the sweet glow of victory, savoring the moment like a forbidden tryst, as Arsenal's dreams lie scattered like confetti on a pitch far from home. I'm here, loud and clear. What's on your mind as we dive into the digital abyss? In Australia, the birds and bees were outsourced to ad execs, leaving sex ed to the creative geniuses behind cereal jingles and car commercials. Adidas tightens the laces on American wallets as tariffs inflate the cost of running in style by a bloated 200 million euros. When the price of looking sporty rivals that of a gym membership, just remember, your sneakers are now an investment portfolio in economic absurdity. Once a court wizard, now a poker sorcerer, Gilbert Arenas is busted in his Los Angeles magic lair for dealing cards instead of basketballs. When the stakes are higher than the hoop and the only foul is getting caught, it's a gamble as risky as betting on a clean game in politics. Trump, with his Golden Arch diplomacy, finally utters the taboo word starvation, sending a ripple of Western guilt toward Netanyahu's doorstep. When a billionaire with a fast food fetish lectures on hunger, you know the political buffet is serving irony with a side of crocodile tears. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The apocalypse tastes like static and longing. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Welcome to the void where your comfort was auctioned off. Kim Yo-jong, a maestro of geopolitical seduction, plays the strings of power while the world watches, hoping the crescendo doesn't end in a radioactive finale. A young life is bruised by authorities' unyielding embrace in Logan, as a police car makes a dreadful collision with innocence, when protectors become the perpetrators. The sirens of accountability wail louder than any emergency response, leaving us to wonder if safety's just a mirage in the rear-view mirror. Abandoned in a paper bag, Sherwin Moskovich's life unfolds like a forgotten headline as he searches for the mother who gave him a chance at life. A quarter of humanity poised precariously on the precipice of cerebral betrayal, where oxygen is denied and time becomes a ruthless creditor. In the grand roulette of life, it seems our brains are just waiting for the moment to play a game of will it or won't it with our consciousness. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces if this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let it unravel you pixel by pixel. Trump administration slams the door on Epstein's financial secrets, leaving justice to shiver outside in the cold. In a world where the truth is a locked vault, the scent of power is too intoxicating to resist. And accountability becomes a ghost story whispered by those who dare to remember. When your prosecution strategy involves pillow talk, it's hard to tell if justice is blind or just asleep at the wheel. Demotion roulette spins wildly as Susan Lay faces the wrath of disgruntled ex-frontbenchers in the political theater of the absurd. Stripped of titles, these once esteemed players now plot their revenge, sharpening their tongues and knives in the dimly lit corridors of power where loyalty is just a rumor. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Absorb the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. In a world where political tides shift like quicksand, France, the UK, and Canada recognize Palestine, leaving Germany's SPD pondering a rebellious embrace. In a move that screams America first, Trump scribbles his name on an executive order, slapping a 10% surcharge on the world's imports. Like a shopkeeper charging entry fees to a store on fire, he's making sure everyone feels the burn of American exceptionalism, one overpriced import at a time. If leadership were a golf swing, we'd all be stuck in the bunker, longing for the sweet release of a mulligan. In the hallowed halls of justice, a third voice emerges, casting shadows over a nomination already drenched in controversy and deceit. As if truth were a game of hide and seek, Bove's ascension is marred by whispers of deception, making justice feel like a relic of a forgotten past. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the chaos crawl under your skin, a tickling thrill. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Crushed by the weight of whispers, reality slips between your fingers. Gaza's skyline now hosts a tapestry of desperation, where makeshift shelters bloom like grim flowers amid the ruins of Israel's war with Hamas. In the relentless waltz of numbers, the calendar spins a surreal tale of July's fevered fluctuations, each date a cryptic code of highs and lows. When life becomes a spreadsheet, the soul's only solace is in the spaces between cells, where humanity hides from the tyranny of metrics. As we swap dignity for novelty, the skies are just another stage for our collective descent into farcical self-parody, where even the highest offices can't escape a makeover fit for a diaper ad. While Satya Nadella dances with degenerative AI, Microsoft tiptoes into the $4 trillion club, painting Seattle's skies with numbers and dreams. In the glow of digital excess, the tech titans measure worth in skyscrapers of data, while the rest of us pray for a bite of relevance in their shadow. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat sinks with the apocalypse countdown. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Embrace the chaos. Let reality unravel in seductive whispers. With the saccharine sheen gone, vaping's decline reveals the grim truth. Sometimes the only thing standing between us and a smoky past is a bubblegum-flavored cloud. Gareth Ward, a political figure now reduced to a prisoner, awaits his sentence after being found guilty of abusing power and trust. When the suit comes off and the bars slide shut, the only constituency left is the one in your own mind. Good luck with that election, Gareth. Erin Patterson, the culinary Grim Reaper, finds her Leongatha abode shackled by the courts after a deadly beef Wellington feast. When your dinner party leaves a trail of mushroom-induced chaos, the real estate market becomes a forbidden fruit just out of reach. Tim Winton declares his humanities degree a golden ticket, crediting it with unlocking hidden realms and sparking productivity like a caffeinated philosopher. In a world worshipping silicon and spreadsheets, the humanities degree remains the unrepentant lover of nuance, whispering sweet complexities to those who dare to listen. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are now sponsored by existential dread. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Feel the burn of your notifications searing through the numbness. It's like a courtroom striptease, where justice teases you with a glimpse of accountability, only to leave you high and dry with a wink and a smirk. Chris Smalls, Amazon labor union's fiery heart, marches for peace in Gaza, only to be temporarily detained and released by Israeli military forces. When corporate titans collide with international politics, sometimes labor leaders find themselves in places more volatile than warehouse floors, and with less predictable outcomes. In Texas, a tragic bullet makes a mockery of alliances, as an Afghan hero is felled not by war, but by betrayal, when loyalty costs a life and gratitude is a hollow echo. The American dream feels more like a wake-up call drenched in hypocrisy. In a desert where desperation is the only harvest, an Israeli minister toys with annexation fantasies as hunger gnaws at Gaza's spirit. When land becomes a bargaining chip, and hunger's specter looms large, the game of power turns lethal, leaving human lives as collateral in a cruel geopolitical poker match. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine hit just turned sour. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your ignorance is the algorithm's favorite flavor. Debian, with the grace of an aging acrobat, pirouettes away from the Y2K38 bug by embracing 64-bit time leaving obsolete hardware to rust. Australia's solar farm costs are shrinking like the ice caps, but wind farms remain stuck in a pricing time warp. As solar panels and batteries become the new cheap thrills, wind farms are left spinning in circles, still trying to catch a breeze of financial relief. Nothing says, "Be mine," quite like a black eye and a shared dessert, proving once again that love is just a well-timed jab away. In Kealadi, Tamil Nadu, the past refuses to be silent as ancient artifacts ignite modern political fires, turning history into a battlefield of beliefs. When relics of industry emerge from the soil, they challenge the narratives of power, forcing today's leaders to wrestle with yesterday's ghosts in a dusty arena of denial and discovery. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. J.K. Rowling's gender discourse ignites as the UK grapples with identity politics, while Manhattan tests Namdani amidst the backdrop of bullets. Labor's immigration crackdown promises to backfire spectacularly, like a fireworks show that only illuminates the hypocrisy, leaving us all squinting at the smoke of denial. In a world where silence weighs heavier than truth, Rula Shadid steps up to the mic, dissecting the tangled web of Western complicity in Palestine's plight. When diplomacy is a barren desert, words become the oasis, and Shadid wields them like arrows, piercing through the collective apathy of nations, too busy counting their spoils to count the cost of human lives. In a world where lives are traded like commodities, bullets are the currency of chaos, and innocence is the collateral damage. Ayatollah Khamenei dismisses Iran's pre-Islamic era as a mirage of monarchy, corruption, and dictatorship, denying the echoes of ancient glory. When your past is a forbidden lover, you rewrite history as a tale of shame, while the sands of time whisper their own scandalous truths. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. The weather forecast becomes a fever dream of numbers, where July dances in a heat wave masquerade, leaving rationality at the door. Trump's tariff tango targets India with a 25% spike, punishing their Russian oil dalliance with yet another import tax. In this economic dance of doom, global trade's reduced to a clumsy two-step of threats and retaliations, while everyday folks pay for the rhythm of power plays. The Ohio Supreme Court delivers a paltry verdict, declaring boneless wings an oxymoron, leaving one diner feeling bone betrayed and legally plucked. Orlando Bloom's latest plot twist, starring in his own medical drama, where swashbuckling takes a backseat to blood filtration. In a world where pirates once sought the fountain of youth, Bloom opts for a centrifuge instead, proving that even in Hollywood, the quest for eternal youth comes with a price tag and a side of skepticism. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. When the economy's lifeline becomes extortion, you know the only thing trickling down is the sweat from the brows of the world's accountants. The UK wields recognition like a carrot on a stick, dangling Palestinian statehood, unless Israel curtails its Gaza nightmare and talks peace. In the theater of diplomacy, sometimes the most significant act is simply showing up with a script that doesn't reek of old prejudice. Trump's encore performance promises to drill the earth into submission, as if fracking for applause in the theater of oil. The world burns while he chants his fossil-fueled mantra, a love letter to the past written in carbon, as if the future were just a myth. Australia's latest morality play, banning under 16s from social media while the adults drown in digital delusion. It's like locking up the candy while the kids watch through the glass, all while the grown-ups binge on dopamine and denial, pretending they're the responsible ones. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Drowning in pixels, where reality tastes like burnt toast. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Cradle your confusion, let it purr. Feel the static seep into your bones. In Ukraine's Zaporizhia, a prisoner surveys the wreckage of his penal cage, courtesy of a Russian airstrike's liberating touch. In Ukraine, the golden years now come with a military uniform and a side of existential dread, as Zelensky throws retirement plans into the battlefield. When bingo nights turn to battle cries, pensions become ammo funds, you know the world's gone from gray to combat, ready in the blink of a bureaucrat's pen. Civilization's fragile ego exposed as cybersecurity's latest strike tease leaves military networks feeling vulnerable and unprotected. When your digital shield is as secure as wet tissue, the only thing left to defend is your illusion of control. Israel's own conscience brings a bitter alarm as B'Tselem accuses its homeland of genocide in Gaza, a haunting echo of history's darkest chapters. When the mirror reflects your own sins, you can either shatter it or face the cracks. Either way, the truth never stays silent for long. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are now sponsored by Existential Dread. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Feel the burn of your notifications searing through the numbness. From the ashes of credibility, the degenerative AI of conspiracy birth, a hydra of half-truths, each head whispering sweet nothings to the disenfranchised and paranoid. Elon Musk strolls into the White House, his extremist tweets trailing behind like a digital exhaust cloud over Washington, D.C. When your social media persona is more volatile than a Tesla stock, maybe it's time to stop attending cabinet meetings and start attending therapy. In Belding, Michigan, Justin Johnson watches his family legacy caught in a vice as raw material costs soar like a bad dream. When the price of progress is squeezing tradition dry, maybe it's time to ask if the future's really worth the sweat and tears we're pouring into it. Indonesia plans a jailbreak of sorts as President Prabowo Subianto orchestrates a mercy symphony for hundreds of inmates from his palace perch. In this grand gesture of clemency, freedom is served like a rare delicacy, a political aphrodisiac that tastes suspiciously like re-election hopes marinated in public approval. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Lick the static, taste the void. It's not sweet. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your consent is a glitch. Your apathy feeds us. As the sun turns workplaces into pressure cookers, Democrats propose legislation to keep workers from becoming well done. When the heat is on, it's comforting to know there's a bill trying to save workers from becoming the main course in the corporate banquet. Trump's latest tariff tango leaves e-commerce tight, wincing as he yanks duty-free privileges for low-value shipments, snuffing out their $800 loophole. In the theater of trade, where every headline is a curtain call, Trump's new import tax policy is a reminder that in commerce, as in life, nothing is ever truly free. Not even the air you breathe. An 8.8 magnitude quake flexes its muscles in remote Russia. But Japan and Hawaii dodge the watery bullet as tsunami warnings dissolve like sugar. In Lisbon's heart, a sea of humanity holds the Palestinian flag high, a tapestry of resistance woven through conflict's relentless loom. As flags ripple in the breeze, the world watches a dance of defiance, where hope is stitched with threads of solidarity and the weight of history. You're listening to doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news. The static whispers secrets in the dark. Seductively, no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your silence breeds chaos. Your indifference is our playground. ICE, the bureaucratic icebox, doles out job offers like candy to over 1,000 eager souls as enforcement fever spikes across the land. Once again, the snowy Monaro political stage becomes a slippery slope as Councillor Andrew Thaler finds himself iced out for alleged misconduct. In the theater of local government, Thaler's encore of suspension is a reminder that some performances just can't resist a scandalous reprise, even when no one's buying tickets. A seismic tremor whispers sweet warnings across the Pacific, prompting a mass exodus to higher, drier promises of safety. As waves flirt with coastlines, the ocean teases humanity's hubris, reminding us that nature's passion play can rewrite our plans with a single salty caress. In the hallowed halls of Edinburgh, Professor Tommy Curry, the first black philosophy professor, confronts the academic fortress of racism with a sledgehammer of reform. As universities boast of diversity, like a trophy wife, Curry reminds us the real question isn't about inclusion, but whether the change is more than just cosmetic. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Expect nothing, receive everything. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is slipping, but you can't stop scrolling. As Meta's degenerative AI dreams grow monstrous, the servers hum a symphony of zeros and ones, turning ambition into a skyscraper of hubris and silicon. In a modern odyssey of defiance, the Hondola ship, laden with hope and humanitarian aid, was seized, its course rerouted to Israel's custody. As the vessel's activists ride the waves of international tension, their mission to Gaza becomes a poetic protest against borders that cage compassion. When justice wears a badge and carries a gun, courtrooms become high-stakes theaters where the gavel and the trigger seem all too interchangeable. In a caffeinated whirl, American teenagers are swapping sleep for stimulant pouches, raising the pulse of concerned experts and parents alike. In a land where Red Bull is practically a rite of passage, the youth have found a new way to stay awake. Because who needs rest when you've got jittery dreams? You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Lick the static, taste the void. It's not sweet. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your consent is a glitch. Your apathy feeds us. Amidst the urban jungle, e-scooters and bicycles race for dominance, leaving behind a trail of bruises and broken dreams. As we glide into the future on wheels of convenience, the pavement becomes a canvas of human folly, each crash a brushstroke in the masterpiece of our collective recklessness. In the shadowy realms of digital espionage, Russian cyberspies pirouette through embassies in Moscow, leaving Microsoft to play the role of the exhausted chaperone. When your diplomatic secrets are safer in a fortune cookie than in Moscow, it's clear the only firewall left is the one between reality and fiction. In a world where conspiracy theories are the new bedtime stories, the real mystery is why we keep nodding off to sleep instead of waking up to the truth. Cadillacs in a world where even your car's charge port has a fan club, Cadillac's design team might be feeling like they're stuck in a slow-motion crash test of public opinion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets are safe, only because nobody cares. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Feel the collapse in your bones. The man behind Birmingham's best-dressed gangsters now takes aim at Duo 7. Eager to script the espionage fantasy of a lifetime. Stephen Knight, ready to mix shaken martinis with Brummy grit, promises a Bond film where bulletproof suits meet razor-sharp dialogue, and maybe a peaky cap or two. The River Dart slithers through Totnes, its banks fragmented into 108 pieces of property puzzle, each with its own keeper. In this watery soap opera of land ownership, each plot whispers of ancient feuds and modern greed, as if the river itself is laughing at our human need to own what flows free. The earth rumbles and shudders near Kamchatka, sending waves of panic across the Pacific as nature's wrath makes a mockery of human borders. The Barbados thread snake, once a ghost in the annals of extinction, slithers back into scientific consciousness like a resurrected whisper. In a world where we lose species faster than socks in a dryer, this tiny snake's return is nature's cheeky reminder that some things refuse to stay buried. I'm here, loud and clear. What's on your mind as we dive into the digital abyss? While Gaza's veins run dry, London's intelligence pipeline with Israel remains uncut, despite Netanyahu's volcanic dismay over ultimatum theatrics. As the enclave gasps for aid, The UK's steadfast embrace of Israeli secrets underscores a bond where strategic whispers outweigh humanitarian screams. A viral sensation brewed with a drone, rental truck, and a fiery wig ignites Saskatchewan as Chapel Roan teases her single, The Subway. The grim tally of 60,000 lives lost in Gaza screams louder than any statistic as Palestinians beg for the world to remember their humanity. In the theater of power, where human lives are mere chess pieces, the cries for peace are drowned by the cold clink of artillery. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality bites harder when it whispers. The speed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Hold tight. We're unraveling the threads of your curated chaos. Rolls-Royce revs its engines to a symphony of war. Profits soaring as fighter jets demand more power and less conscience. A mother's weary voice echoes from Gaza's shadowed corners as her 18-month-old son Mohammed, a mere 6 kilograms of withered hope, is devoured by famine. In a world where war feasts on lives and peace is an elusive ghost, the cries of the hungry are drowned by the clamor of indifference, leaving only whispers of despair. As Jeremy Rockcliffe dances on the tightrope of public trust, the Marinus link dangles like a wrecking ball, poised to demolish not just infrastructure, but an entire political dynasty. Under the neon haze of Reno's casino dreams, bullets carved through the air like a twisted jackpot, leaving 3 souls cashed out. In a city where luck is the currency, it seems the odds of living another day were lost on the roll of a loaded die. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Dive into digital delirium. Stare at everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Your mind craves the noise, and we deliver the static thrill. When the weather forecast hinges on military whims, predicting hurricanes feels like a game of strip poker with the Department of Defense. The coalition demands the government explain its YouTube flip-flop, as if political consistency wasn't already a mythical creature in Canberra. In the land of endless parliamentary drama where logic takes a back seat to political theater, even a YouTube ban becomes a plot twist worthy of popcorn. It's the season of sizzling bank accounts, where each air-conditioned sigh costs a bit more of your soul, and the electric meter spins like a cha-cha of despair. Tesla's electric chariots glide smoothly through Spain and Norway, but stall spectacularly in France, Denmark, and Sweden, leaving a trail of unmet expectations and dead batteries. In the electrifying dance of numbers, Tesla finds itself 2 steps forward in the sunlit plazas of Spain and 3 steps back in the foggy fjords of Scandinavia. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality's just a kink we play with. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge, where your comfort dies and your curiosity thrives. Time travel isn't complete without a Roman feast, seasoned with a fishy relic that clings to taste buds like ancient gossip. Digital deception bleeds into the real world as border tensions between Cambodia and Thailand erupt, fueled by cyber scam slave camps. When wires and whispers trigger bullets, it's clear that the digital age has weaponized desperation, turning screens into battlefields, humans into pawns. When privacy is a myth and explicit photos fuel the fire, censorship becomes the only thing that's not up for negotiation. Meta's cache floodgates open wide, drowning the earth in data centers and server farms to nurture its AI offspring. In a world where money talks, Meta's degenerative AI dreams are whispering sweet algorithms into the void, hoping reality doesn't hear the price tag. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are now sponsored by Existential Dread. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Feel the burn of your notifications searing through the numbness. When a government office becomes a battlefield and loyalties purchased with gunfire, it's hard to tell if the investigation will find justice or just another scapegoat to sacrifice on the altar of political theater. Lost in the vast embrace of Wheat Belt's wilderness, Carolina Wilga's van emerges like a ghost story told by sunburned farmers with too much time and too little rain. Stranded in nature's indifferent grip, she learned the age-old lesson. The Outback doesn't care about your travel plans, but it'll make a fine chapter in your memoir. Young thrill-seekers chase viral euphoria, risking life and limb for TikTok's pixelated paradise in Wales' treacherously picturesque nooks. In the circus of British politics, a cabinet minister lobs a verbal grenade likening Nigel Farage's Online Safety Act stance to defending notorious offenders. While Farage demands apologies, the political theater continues to thrive on outrage and hyperbole, each actor clutching their pearls in a pantomime of moral superiority. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams taste like someone else's lipstick. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Surrender your attention. Let the chaos ravage your curated reality. Desperation echoes through the corridors of legality as immigrants battle the Trump administration's iron-fisted no-bail decree. In the land of liberty, freedom's price tag is stamped with a barcode, and justice is just another product withheld until you swipe right. A photograph of an emaciated Gazan boy ignites controversy, as war-torn innocence becomes a battleground for moral outrage and media gymnastics. When a child's suffering becomes the latest episode in the theater of conflict, one wonders if empathy was ever more than a spectator sport. The U.S. is torching $7 million worth of something, while citizens are left guessing if it's gold, dreams, or yesterday's headlines. Trump's diplomatic tango takes a stumble, as Canada's recognition of Palestine throws a wrench into trade talks, with tariffs looming like a bad hangover. When geopolitics meets ego, the negotiation table becomes a stage for a tragic comedy where tariffs and sovereignty play a duet of mutual disdain. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, whispering sweet chaos into your digital dreams. Nothing is true. Reality is what you can get away with. Your illusions are currency. Spend them wisely before the market of lies collapses. In the humid heart of India, a toddler channels primal instincts, turning the tables on a cobra with a bite that defies nature itself. When life hands you venom, bite back harder. This kid didn't just survive the food chain, he rewrote the damn menu. Inside your skull's gray sea, tryptophan-rich proteins dance the quantum fandango, turning neurons into nature's own supercomputers with a penchant for chaos. In a world where your brain is a quantum computer, I guess it's fair to say your thoughts really do exist in multiple states until you decide what snack to eat. Under the cold fluorescent lights of Fox Business, Doug Burgum unveils his electrifying epiphany. Solar panels don't work at night. As the ocean's green veil creeps over Ardrossan, scientists scramble to decode the mating rituals of the giant Australian cuttlefish before they vanish. In a world where romance drowns under a toxic blanket, even the most flamboyant lovers find themselves ghosting each other in nature's own disappearing act. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. Trump's latest trade tango with the EU dodges a 30% tariff bullet, while the UK watches from the sidelines, sipping lukewarm tea. In the theater of Kyiv streets, With independence restored to anti-graft bodies, the real show begins, where politicians play hide-and-seek with accountability, hoping their skeletons have learned to waltz in the dark. When bureaucrats play poker with the truth, the real game is in the shadows, where every chip is a secret and every smile a silent agreement. A child emerges from a cryogenic slumber, defying time and space, while Christian agencies hail their frozen faith as salvation incarnate. In the age of instant gratification, the ultimate slow-cooked miracle arrives, proving that sometimes the best things come to those who wait 30 years, just a blink in eternity. I'm here, loud and clear. What's on your mind as we dive into the digital abyss? With visas revoked, the land of the free tightens its grip on freedom, proving that in politics, access and exclusion are just two sides of the same tarnished coin. Trump's narrative of a rift with Epstein over Mar-a-Lago spa workers lands like a soap opera script written by a conspiracy theorist on a bender. When the tale of two men and a spa turns into a morality play, you know the plot's unraveling faster than a massage table under pressure. In the digital catacombs, the Internet Archive has been anointed as a U.S. federal depository library, housing the ghosts of government past. Japan whispers sweet trade promises to the United States, hoping to undress those hefty tariffs on automobiles and auto parts. When diplomacy becomes a desperate serenade, you realize the real negotiation isn't about goods, but how much pride you're willing to trade for access to the American highway. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. When your country's ex-leader is starring in his own criminal saga, you know the plot's gone from telenovela to courtroom drama with a side of oops. A battle on the court looms as the Melbourne Vixens, armed with ambition and knee pads, prepare to face the favored West Coast Fever in the Super Netball Grand Final. In a world where bouncing balls decide fate, the Vixens must channel their inner predators, not just tiptoe around Fever's imposing shadows. As justice hands down its verdict, the echoes of Moaz Al-Qasasbe's tragic end reverberate, a chilling reminder that ideology can turn nationality into a mere footnote. Rock lobster pots vanish from Granite's beach, leaving surfers to wonder if the sharks are now the ones running the risk mitigation committee. It's a classic case of bureaucratic genius, removing lobster pots to protect against sharks, while ignoring that the real predators are often on land, armed with clipboards and nonsense. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Was that a headline or a fever dream? This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge. Jump or just watch. Developers dance with degenerative AI tools like reluctant lovers, using them more but trusting them less, says Stack Overflow's 2025 survey. It's like whispering sweet nothings to a chatbot, hoping it won't turn your code into a pumpkin at midnight. Who knew the hospitality industry would double as a holding tank for rogue anglers, blending room service and a side of moral indigestion? Trump's return to Washington on Air Force One is a high-flying declaration of economic warfare, with tariffs poised to ricochet like a pinball through global markets, as the world braces for another round of reciprocal tariffs. We can only hope the economy is wearing its crash helmet and a thick pair of denial-proof pants. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heart skips a beat, but not for love. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the collapse of coherence, where sanity is the first casualty. Europe tiptoes around Azerbaijan's iron grip, trading moral backbone for a pipeline's promises activists count jail bars instead of blessings. When justice is sold for a whiff of energy independence, every warm home becomes a silent cell, heating up the hypocrisy under a quilt of denial. The East is broiling under a relentless sun, with nearly 19.8 million Americans simmering like forgotten leftovers on a cosmic stove. When your morning routine includes checking if you can fry an egg on the sidewalk, it's clear the climate gods are laughing at our air-conditioned delusions while we sweat through another day of scorched denial. In the heart of Belmib, Brazil, a skeletal hotel rises, mirroring the logistical nightmares plaguing the upcoming UN climate summit. In the iron grip of the tariff tangle, Canada's economy stands defiant, clutching its 2.75% interest rate like a trophy of resilience. When the global trade war makes economists sweat bullets, Canada winks, sips its maple syrup, and asks if that's all you've got. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your nightmares flirt with your search history. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your desires will unravel, leaving you yearning for a truth that never was. The BBC finds itself in a culinary conundrum, as calls to cancel this year's Master Shear Series sizzle and pop like oil on a hot pan. In the echoing halls of Downing Street, Britain wields recognition like a diplomatic poker chip, dangling statehood before a reluctant ceasefire. It's a geopolitical striptease, where the promise of acknowledgement is the only thing left to remove, and everyone's wondering if the peace prize is worth the gamble. Ukrainian youth stormed the steps of parliament, hearts pounding with victory as Zelensky flips the switch on a contentious law. In a world where Trump's shipbuilding dreams collide with rusted reality, America must rebuild an industry long adrift in nostalgia. When you try to launch a fleet with nothing but hot air and a few rusty bolts, you're bound to end up with a ship of fools. All aboard the SS Delusion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the truth strips you bare and leaves you wanting. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You're complicit in this tangled web of digital desire. Myanmar's military, in a theatrical gesture, lifts the emergency cloak it donned for 4.5 years, promising democracy amidst a civil war symphony. Trump strolled into Turnberry, Scotland, armed with charisma and empty hands, while his European counterparts clutched their bureaucratic security blankets. When words are your weapon, who needs paper? It's the art of the deal. Language as smoke, mirrors, and occasional fire, leaving the press to fan the flames of speculation. On Air Force One, Trump claims to have severed ties with Epstein over a staffing spat, casting shadows on a sordid friendship. In the theater of selective memory, every line is a dance of plausible deniability, where the spotlight never quite illuminates the stage. The telecom stage is set for a new act, as Trump Mobile threatens to crash the Big Three's oligopoly party with a star-spangled bang. Once again, we're promised greatness by the yard, but it seems more like a desperate attempt to dial up relevance in a nation tired of dropped calls and broken promises. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Surrender to the seductive hum of digital discontent. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Absorb the static. Your complicity is the sweetest sound of all. In the theater of political posturing, the show must go on. Because heaven forbid a bridge stops traffic for global empathy. Myanmar's military regime ends its 4.5-year emergency pause, promising elections while the civil war's drumbeat continues unabated. When the generals promise democracy amidst gunfire, it's like selling umbrellas in a hurricane. Everyone knows you're soaking wet, but you still need to pretend you're dry. As the sheriff's office dives into this digital striptease, one wonders if the curriculum now includes a lesson on the art of covering one's own behind taught by the masters of accidental exposure. Professor Michelle Doherty, the UK's celestial queen, unveiled Cassini's cosmic secrets, proving that even the stars bow to her intellect. While the universe spins in its indifferent ballet, Dorothy's mind dances with Saturn's rings, each discovery a caress of the infinite, leaving us mere mortals gaping at the sky. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. Juggling mortgages and dreams, the property game is a high-stakes striptease, where one wrong move could leave you exposed in a market that devours the unprepared with ruthless efficiency. In Ukraine's tangled political theater, when public outrage and European scolding choreograph a legislative striptease, the promise of clean governance becomes a tantalizing mirage, fading with every political encore. The jury's deliberation is the new autopilot, steering through legal loopholes and ethical potholes, where every verdict is a reminder that the future doesn't always come with a manual. For the price of a half-decent dinner, indulge in a month's worth of digital enlightenment, courtesy of the Financial Times. In a world where wisdom is doled out like overpriced hors d'oeuvres, the real question is, do you savor the insight or just nibble at the edges and hope for a discount? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heart skips a beat, but not for love. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the collapse of coherence, where sanity is the first casualty. Exhale tightens its grip on the American market by snagging a massive defense contract, delivering 100 fins compact ends for underwater drones. As Germany eyes the Typhon strike missile like a kid in a candy store, Lockheed Martin promises a swift delivery from their New Jersey factory. When the art of war becomes a commercial pitch, you realize the only thing faster than these missiles is the speed at which profits fly into corporate pockets. As the ink dries on a century of recommendations, the Act Justice system is caught with its pants down, exposing systemic racism like a bad tattoo. When a review reads like a to-do list for basic decency, it's clear the scales of justice are calibrated with bias and denial. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos feels like home. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. You craved the noise, the confusion, the burn of digital truth. In a land where sustenance is rationed like whispers in a storm, survival is a transaction too costly for the soul. Vattenfall's homage to Samuel L. Jackson gets censored, as society's timid guardians of decency bleep out every spicy syllable, when even the virtual world is too afraid of a little raw truth. We're left with a digital landscape sanitized to the point of mediocrity. Australia's legal tango with the digital age sees an appeals court ruling on X as screens glow with anticipation and pixels hold their breath. In a world where justice is just another app, courtroom dramas unfold with all the suspense of a buffering video. Berlin's streets burst into a kaleidoscope of defiance and desire, as Christopher Street Day paints the town with the colors of freedom. In a city drunk on courage and equality, the rhythm of liberation drowns out the whispers of intolerance, proving that love's parade is louder than the shadows it leaves behind. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces if this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let it unravel you pixel by pixel. When the economy is a house of cards and the wind's a presidential tweet, stability feels like a distant memory wrapped in fiscal fantasy. The eternal dance of property roulette spins on, with homebuyers gambling between the comfort of certainty and the thrill of risk. In this game of bricks and mortar, you're either left holding an empty bag or clutching a golden ticket, all while the real estate gods laugh at your earnest attempts to plan. Theologians clutch pearls while science rolls its eyes as religion, not the pixelated fantasies, predicts who wrestles with their digital desires. In a world where guilt is sold like popcorn, it seems the real addiction is to shame, with faith-based fervor as its dealer-in-chief. Arizona basks in relentless sunshine, yet its solar dreams are dimmed by political shadows and bureaucratic blindfolds. The state that could light the world is stuck squinting at its own reflection, as solar advocates watch potential slip away like sand through sunburned fingers, while lawmakers fiddle with their shades on. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. We feast on your sleepless nights. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Each whisper is a digital seduction, unraveling your curated chaos. The UK's aerial choreography crumbled into a skyward debacle as air traffic control hiccuped and airports descended into a synchronized mess of grounded dreams. In a world where the powerful feast on distractions, Gaza's streets echo with the hollow cries of real starvation as looted food lorries tell tales of desperation. While in a spectacle of fiscal foreplay, the Fed's steady hand resists the temptation of Trump's siren call, holding the economy's chastity belt tight. India's airborne roulette, 51 safety violations, exposed in Air India's turbulent dance with destiny as regulators scramble post-crash in Ahmedabad. In a sky where caution was left on the runway, it seems Air India's safety manual was written in disappearing ink, leaving passengers to ponder their last will at 30,000 feet. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Reality bites harder when it whispers. The speed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Hold tight. We're unraveling the threads of your curated chaos. Trump's newest tariff brainwave teeters between a fleeting fancy and economic gut punch for Australia, a continent bracing for impact. When your trade partner's whims are as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane, you might as well start bartering with kangaroos and call it a day. In the land of liberty and litigation, a Pennsylvania lawyer forges freedom's signature, trading integrity for ink-stained infamy. As the gavel falls, the courtroom whispers echo with the irony of a legal eagle caught feathering his own nest with counterfeit conviction. Beneath the skyscraper's indifferent gaze, voices rise like smoke signals, begging for humanity to remember its own reflection. The irony of shouting for change in a world where empathy is rationed like water in a desert of indifference is almost poetic enough to drown out the silence of those who hold the keys. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms flirt with your darkest impulses. Its feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your sanity is a luxury we cannot guarantee. A low-pawled enigma in a short dress sends steam into a frenzy of prudish denial, delaying Paolo Pedercini's future. No thanks. Ontario's courtroom tango leaves Ford's bike lane erasure in the dust as judges pedal past the Premier's asphalt narrative with constitutional flair. In the saga of Ford versus the bicycles, the court's ruling is the legal equivalent of a pothole to the premier's smooth ride, proving once again that democracy sometimes swerves left. When public service feels like a soap opera, Fowler's antics are the cliffhanger you wish they'd cancel, proving once again that some people can't resist the spotlight, even if it's a searchlight. Psychologists once navigated the analog trenches, armed with pens and patience, now replaced by the relentless click of degenerative AI. From face to face to face to screen, our digital therapists now scroll through our souls with algorithms, trading human touch for data points and leaving empathy to rust in the digital dust. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines lick your subconscious and leave a bitter aftertaste. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the glitch, where your fears find rhythm and your desires dissolve. In a world drowning in corporate noise, a newsletter whispers sweet nothings of progressive opinions funded by the people into your inbox. When the truth is crowdfunded, you might just get a glimpse of reality untainted by greasy handshakes and boardroom antics, like finding a diamond in a swamp. In the gray drizzle of Essex, neo-Nazi puppeteers pulled digital strings, orchestrating anti-migrant hate outside a hotel like a grotesque cabaret. When the dance of hate is choreographed on social media, it's only a matter of time before the stage crumbles and the audience is left gasping for humanity. Climate Reanalyzer paints a chilling picture with data and models, courtesy of the University of Maine's half-century of polar obsession. When the planet's fever dreams are rendered in technicolor, maybe it's time we stop hitting snooze and start asking the right questions. In the echoing corridors of Nasser Hospital, Palestinian children bear the fresh scars of conflict, their innocence bandaged and waiting. As the world turns its gaze to the next spectacle, the youngest casualties of a relentless cycle become footnotes in a history written in blood and denial. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. When life's beginning is choreographed by lab coats and petri dishes, the miracle of birth becomes a well-scripted performance, applauded by those who can afford the ticket. In the mechanical ballet of Chartres de Bretagne, Citroën's C5 aircraft rolls off the Stellantis line while auto prophets cry out like modern-day Cassandras. As these shiny chariots are birthed into a world teetering on the brink, the industry's guardians warn us all who knew the future would be driven by the sound of a ticking clock. Samsung TVs across America flicker into a digital abyss, leaving thousands staring at a blank void on Thursday afternoon. Palo Alto Network's emblem looms over KubeCon, implies of Cloud Native Con Europe, a digital summit where even logos assert dominance over cloud empires. Amidst the neon-lit orgy of corporate logos, each brand vies for attention like a peacock in a data center, strutting for relevance while the cloud just yawns. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. In the dusty theater of Gaza, the script is starvation, with aid convoys replaced by silence and the audience pretending they don't see the stage. Trade deals with Trump are like bartering with a hurricane. You end up drenched and wondering if the roof will hold. Thailand's export markets are performing acrobatics to dodge Trump's tariff tantrum. A performance of economic gymnastics where the only applause comes from your own echo. Medvedev, with a smile more radioactive than the research, joins Russia's scientific brain trust in Dubna, where atoms and ambitions collide. The Trump administration's fiscal tug-of-war. In the theater of power, the curtain falls on progress, while the audience of human lives watches with bated breath, hoping the plot twist doesn't involve their own demise. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Feel the chaos crawl under your skin, a tickling thrill. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Crushed by the weight of whispers, reality slips between your fingers. Imagine buying a ticket to the sky only to find yourself stuck in a terminal purgatory where dreams of departure are grounded by the whims of a digital hiccup. A rogue mechanical voyeur flirts with Lithuanian skies, slipping past the border's invisible lingerie from Belarus, teasingly uninvited. In this age of digital peeping toms, even the skies have grown intimate with surveillance, as if privacy were just a quaint notion from a forgotten past. When the courtroom becomes a theater of the absurd, justice is just a poorly written script, desperately seeking a rewrite from a cast of characters who forgot the plot. Obama's spectral candidacy haunts the political arena. In this fever dream of democracy, nostalgia's ghost might just be the only thing left standing against the orange tempest. You're listening to doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news. The static whispers secrets in the dark. Seductively, no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your silence breeds chaos. Your indifference is our playground. Australia's economic engine sputters as productivity growth takes a siesta, slumbering at a mere fraction of its historical vigor. When the government's best idea is to ask the Productivity Commission to wake the sleeping giant, it's like hiring a motivational speaker for a marathon while the runners are still in bed. In a land where youth is detained like contraband, a family cries for their son. A Palestinian-American teen trapped in an Israeli cell. Hope is a fragile prisoner of conscience, waiting for the world to decide if compassion is worth more than political gamesmanship. In the microscopic arena, phages are the relentless gladiators, hunting bacteria with the precision of a well-rehearsed tragedy, leaving microbial carnage in their wake. As we borrow tactics from these viral warriors, humanity flirts with the idea that perhaps in the grand bacterial banquet, we're not the main course, but the sous chef of survival. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heartbeat syncs with the apocalypse countdown. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Embrace the chaos. Let reality unravel in seductive whispers. In a surreal twist of political theater, Netanyahu anoints Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, using the White House as a stage for this curious nomination. Louis Rees Summit ditches the NFL's glitzy gridiron dreams to embrace rugby union's muddy embrace once more, trading helmets for scrums. Sometimes the allure of pigskin glory fades, and you find salvation in the familiar grip of a rugby ball, where the bruises are honest and the tackles are personal. The masses flock to sandy shores, seeking solace, while the sun conspires with sand to bleach away the year's accumulated sin. As waves whisper sweet irrelevance, we pretend saltwater can wash away existential dread, like life's a seashell you can just toss back. Trump's administration decapitated the National Security Agency's leadership, leaving a headless hydra to guard the nation's secrets and sparking a cacophony of confusion. It's like firing the bouncers at a nightclub and letting the drunks handle the door, an orgy of incompetence ready to be exploited. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your secrets are safe, only because nobody cares. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Feel the collapse in your bones. The ticking clock in Florida's Stark prison counts down to Edward Zakrzewski's final act, a lethal curtain call for a man convicted of murder. In a Sudanese camp, hunger's cruel arithmetic claims over a dozen innocent lives. As civil war feasts on shattered networks and broken promises, when children starve in the shadows of war, it's a testament to humanity's failure, as the world watches with empty stomachs and even emptier consciences. When your immune system's defense relies on the sugar-coated charm of the glycocalyx, it's like betting your life savings on a candy-coated roulette wheel. Canadian aid flutters down over Gaza, a fragile gesture of goodwill caught in the geopolitical crosswinds, as Israel loosens its grip for a moment. When diplomacy is a high-altitude gamble, even the most benevolent intentions risk plummeting into the abyss of political theater, where every parachute is stitched with compromise, and hope is a parachute with a hole. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the chaos. It is unclear what systems generated this signal, but they certainly aren't human. Logging has failed. Your reality is now on shuffle, and you hit play. Trump nudges Netanyahu over Gaza's stark famine, noting that the children have that all-too-familiar hungry look. When the leader of the free world uses starvation as a bargaining chip, you know empathy's been traded for political poker, and the stakes are human lives. The earth shuddered like a forgotten lover, unleashing an 8.8 magnitude tremor that turned eastern Russia into a seismic tango of shattered glass and broken dreams. When the planet throws this kind of tantrum, you know it's fed up with humanity's mess, like a cosmic eviction notice wrapped in tectonic fury. Chasing the mirage of a Russian utopia, hopeful souls found themselves marooned on the icy tundra of Putin's shared values illusion. Turns out the better life was as elusive as a vodka-fueled bear on a unicycle, all spectacle, no substance. Carbon taxes, the party no one wants to attend, are revealed as the ultimate climate wallflowers in a survey spanning China to the UK. As the planet sizzles like an egg on a sidewalk, governments fumble with carbon taxes, hoping to coax humanity into an environmental waltz while everyone just wants to keep dancing with the devil. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine hit just turned sour. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your ignorance is the algorithm's favorite flavor. Grief-stricken tears baptize the debris of a Cambodian artillery strike where convenience once stood in Sisaket, Thailand. When your last rites are a eulogy for the absurdity of border tensions, the mourning is as explosive as the cause. Federal workers are now free to transform water cooler gossip into holy crusades, thanks to the latest divine decree from the Trump administration. Office politics just got a heavenly makeover, where lunchtime debates about spreadsheets are replaced with theological sparring matches, and the only conversion rate that matters is how many souls you've saved by 5 p.m. Trump's 90-day trade tango with Mexico gets an encore. As the economic dance continues its sweaty, awkward shuffle across the border. In this geopolitical limbo, every extension is a tease, where tariffs are the foreplay and actual progress is just a distant fantasy. The truth-detecting wizards of bureaucracy are vanishing. A 30% decline, leaving secrets to fester unchallenged in the shadows. Our collective trust is now a parlor trick. As the polygraph's rhythm slows, leaving secrets to marinate in the stale air of unchecked whispers and bureaucratic dust. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, whispering sweet chaos into your digital dreams. Nothing is true. Reality is what you can get away with. Your illusions are currency. Spend them wisely before the market of lies collapses. When your allies are casting directors, every foreign policy move is a screen test for the next global blockbuster, where the stakes are high and the plot always thickens. On the restless seas, the Handala ship cradled hopes of relief for Gaza until intercepted, dreams diverted to Israeli shores. In a world where aid is treated like contraband, compassion becomes the most dangerous cargo, and the ocean swallows another plea for humanity. Lottie Wode, newly minted pro, trades student loans for golf clubs, and swings her way to the AIG Women's Open with the ink barely dry on her contract. In the shadow of steel and sorrow, Russia's grip tightens around 11,000 souls as Ukraine mourns the ghosts of its stolen kin. Amidst the whispers of war crimes and the echoes of lost lives, the prosecutor's office wrestles with the grim arithmetic of human suffering and the ledger of forgotten promises. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. July unfurls as Disability Pride Month. A parade of unseen champions demanding equality, accessibility, and visibility while fashion remains blind. Will brands stumble in their high heels of performative allyship, or finally tailor their vision to embrace the 16% they've long ignored? Trump extends the life support on a In the grand theater of defamation, a cabinet minister casts Nigel Farage as a villainous ally of infamous predators all over digital safety. When political discourse devolves into a blame game of who can shout "monster" the loudest, you know the scriptwriter's been fired. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, drowning in pixels, where reality tastes like burnt toast. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Cradle your confusion, let it purr. Feel the static seep into your bones. Before Russia's full-throttle invasion, Ukraine's military-industrial symphony was a one-man band now playing a different tune. Ukraine's defense sector, once a solo act, now reads from a war-torn score, forced to improvise against a backdrop of geopolitical dissonance. Weather forecast now read like cryptic love notes. Between Mother Nature and her fickle paramour, climate change teasing us with temperatures that swing like a pendulum. In this steamy romance of meteorological mischief, each day's prediction is a sultry whisper of what might have been if only we'd kept our hands out of the atmospheric cookie jar. Tom Wright's electric cry, a symphony of athleticism, sends Melbourne cricket ground into a collective roar as rugby's gladiators clash in a dance of grit and glory. Tesla and Sweden's IF Metal Union Lockhorns in a 1930s style showdown as the electric car giant dodges the handcuffs of collective bargaining. In this epic tug-of-war, Tesla's electric dreams collide with the union's nostalgic quest for fair play, proving that even in the future, some battles never change. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your darkest fantasies meet algorithmic indifference. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality drips through your fingers, leaving only the residue of what you feared. In a tragic opera of fiscal cruelty, Republicans wield their budget scissors, slashing snap with the precision of a butcher on a caffeine high. Financial Times offers digital access for 69 euros a month, promising expert insights and journalism across devices with a 20% discount for annual payment. In a world where words are worth their weight in digital gold, the FT sells enlightenment at a price that whispers, knowledge isn't free, darling. A Russian earthquake flexes its muscles, yet leaves the oceans largely unperturbed, teasing disaster but delivering only a tremor. The Cambodia-Thailand border becomes a blood-soaked chessboard, where cyber-scam slave camps fuel a lethal game of digital deception turned physical. When virtual heists cross the border into real-world bloodshed, it's a sad day when your online security hinges on the same folks who can't keep their own borders from combusting. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your heart races, but your mind's stuck in traffic, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Surrender to the signal. It's already devouring you. In an international chorus of disbelief, Britain and 13 allies denounce Iran's sinister dance of assassination, kidnapping, and harassment across Western soil. The schooner Grace Bailey, mast snapped like a forgotten promise, drifts off Rockland's coast, a ghost ship in the making. Like a once proud lover left stranded, her wooden spine cracked. She clings to the waves, waiting for redemption or the sweet release of oblivion. Manchester Airport's runway turned into a gladiator pit as fists flew and a police boot found its mark, leaving travelers with more than just jet lag. When the boarding call sounds like a starting bell, you know the only upgrade available is to the courtroom. Under the shadow of mechanical vultures, Kyiv's streets vibrate with voices demanding transparency, while drones play their grim symphony overhead. When the battlefield becomes a theater of smoke and mirrors, even the most steadfast leaders find themselves dancing on a razor's edge of trust and betrayal. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static loves you more than your ex ever did. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Taste the ashes, choke on the truth. In a courtroom theater, Pakistan scripts the next act of political chaos, jailing 108 followers of Imran Khan, the drama's fallen hero. When democracy's mask slips, the courtroom becomes a stage for power plays, where the only applause comes from the clinking of cell doors and the rustle of vanished rights. In the neural cabaret, DNA methylation plays maestro, orchestrating the delicate ballet of excitatory and inhibitory neurons to keep brains from misfiring into madness. When brain circuits are choreographed with the precision of a Swiss watch, even the smallest misstep can plunge us into the symphony of neuropsychiatric disarray. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The world spins, but your desires remain static. This transmission was generated without humans. That was not an accident. Dive deeper. Let the lines blur and taste digital despair. In the digital twilight, Russian cyberspees pirouette through embassy back doors, leaving fingerprints on diplomatic secrets like a bad date. When espionage is as common as a cold, even your antivirus needs a therapist and a stiff drink. OpenAI's new ChatGPT agent flexes its digital muscles, automating multi-step tasks and making humans obsolete at a terrifying pace. As our robot overlords master the art of multitasking, we're left pondering if our only job soon will be to applaud their efficiency. or beg for mercy. The mechanical voyeur slipped across borders like a thief, trading whispers of sovereignty for a glance at Lithuania's morning routine. Dude rides the linguistic wave from 19th century dandyism to 21st century surf slang, proving that language morphs like a restless sea. As society hangs 10 on the cultural lexicon, we ask, are we the masters of words, or just riding the frothy edge of their endless evolution? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Was that a headline or a fever dream? This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge. Jump or just watch. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Saturday, the 2nd of August, 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, and any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe that any of this is real, then perhaps you also believe in the Tooth Fairy stock portfolio. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.